Welcome back, AP Macroeconomics students. Today we're going to talk about topic 2.4, price indices and inflation. The first slides have you guess what the inflation rate. You can take a look at that on your own. Well, what is inflation? Inflation is rising general level of prices, and it reduces the purchasing power of money. An example, it takes $2 to buy what a dollar bought in 89, $6 in 72, $25 in 1913. When inflation occurs, each dollar of income will buy fewer goods than before. Here's another chart to let you take some guesses. What do you think, in terms of goods and services, has gone up in price and what has gone down? Hospital services, college tuition, childcare, wages, housing. But new cars have stayed about the same. Cell phone service has gone down, and TVs way down. Here's some historic inflation rates in various countries throughout history, and a look at monthly inflation in the United States. So the question is inflation good or bad? In general, high inflation is bad because banks don't lend and people can't save. This decreases investment and GDP. What about deflation? Well, deflation is the decrease in general prices or a negative inflation rate. Deflation is bad because people will hoard money and assets. This decreases consumer spending, which then impacts GDP. Disinflation is when prices increase at slower rates. So how do we measure inflation? Well, the government measures it by looking at what's called a market basket of goods and services. They look at inflation over time. One, through the inflation rate. That is the percent change in prices from year to year. The second way is through price indices. These are index numbers assigned to each year that show how prices have changed relative to a specific base year. An example, the inflation rate in 2014 in the US was 0.8. The CPI for 2014 was 235 with a base year of 1982. This means that prices have increased 135% since 1982. So here's how we get the cost of the market basket. You add up the prices of all the items in the basket in a given year. The quantity in the basket must be the same as the base year. So we add up year one, we get $4. We add up year two, we get $5. Add up year three, we get $6. Again, these are the total amounts for that particular year. In this case, we're only having 3 items in our market basket. Only items that consumers would normally purchase are included in the CPI. So these are regular items that are available from year to year. CPI is the most commonly used measurement. Here's how it works. The base year gets an index of 100, and then you compare by each year is given an index number as well. So the CPI's equation is the price of market basket over the price of market basket in the base year times 100 to get that percentage. So in 1997, let's say there's a market basket. A movie is $6 and a pizza is $14. That's a total of $20. If that is your base year, and we are considering that 100, then in 2009, if a movie is $8 and a pizza is $17, then the total is $125. Therefore, you have an index of 125. This means inflation increased 25% between the years of 97 and 09. Items that cost $100 in total in 97 now cost $125 in 09. So if we use 1 as the base year for this problem, what is the CPI for year 1 and what is the CPI for year 2 and year 3? Well, in year 1, it's 100. That's our base. In year 2, it's 125 using the equation. And in year 3, it's 150. Or if you look at the 4 and the $6 amounts, it's time and a half. So we have some practice problems here. We're looking for the change in price, not the output. Remember, CPI is the price of the market basket in the particular year over the price of the same market basket in the base year times 100. Remember that year one's always going to have 100 as its CPI. And the inflation rate is the new number minus the old number divided by the old number. Multiply that times 100. So you don't have an inflation rate in the base year. But in year two, you can see it's 25%. In year three, it is 20%. We're only looking at from the growth from year to year. In year four, it went to a negative inflation rate because it went down from 150 to 50. To go from 50 to 200, that was a 300% inflation rate. And to go from 200 to 100 would be minus 50%. Really take a look at this to understand CPI and inflation. Now, there's a couple problems with CPI. One, substitution bias. As prices increase for the fixed market basket, consumers buy less of those products and more substitutes that may not be part of the market basket. Remember that under demand. As a result, the CPI may be higher than what consumers are really paying. Also, new products emerge. They may not include the newest consumer products. Finally, the product quality. CPI does not take into account improvements or decline in product quality. Therefore, the CPI may suggest that prices stay the same, though the economic well-being has improved significantly. But what do you think? How do we spend in terms of items in the market basket? Large percentage goes into food and beverage. Housing, of course, is the biggest expense. Gear, transportation, medical, recreation, education, other goods and services. So, in order to achieve the three goals of unemployment, inflation, and GDP growth, the government participates by attempting to prevent unemployment and prevent inflation at the same time. If the government focuses too much on preventing inflation and slows the economy down, we're going to have high unemployment. But if the government focuses too much on limiting unemployment and overheating the economy, we're going to have inflation. In general, you want unemployment to be 6% or less. Remember, we said 4 to 6%. You also want inflation to be between 1 and 4%. Generally, it sits around 2%. And GDP growth, you want to have from 2.5% to 5%. Now, you'll have some concerns if unemployment goes up to 6.5 to 8%, if inflation goes up between 5 or 8%, or if GDP growth goes down to 1 to 2%. You need to really be concerned when unemployment goes at 8.5% or more, inflation goes up to 9% or more, and if your GDP growth stalls to a level of less than 1%. Thank you. Here's some videos on practice. I'll help you out.